Good morning, 7th graders. Today we are celebrating Sports Day at Invest Collegiate Transform, and I have the Truist Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia as my backdrop because I grew up in Atlanta and I have a favorite team there, the Atlanta Braves. I grew up going to the Fulton County Stadium, called the Atlanta Stadium, then later Turner Field, to watch the Braves play. And they still are one of my favorite teams. I'm sporting my, if I can show it here, my World Series t-shirt from the Braves. And also I'm wearing my Carolina Panthers champions cap. We want to shout out to the Carolina Panthers. We see Bank of America Stadium from our school every day, which is pretty cool. And also, if we were in school, today is the day we were planning to enjoy our musical at the Halton Theater at CPCC. So I'm sporting my Lion King pin because we would be at the Halton Theater this evening. So a shout out to the cast and crew of the Lion King Junior musical, and to our collegiate leaders and Ms. Stanton for all of the work on the musical. We look forward to enjoying that together in the future. We are reading Refugee by Alan Gratz, and we're starting in the middle of page 205. I think you remember we're about to have some excitement on the boat, it appears. So the beginning of page the middle of page 205. What's begun? Poppy asked, then his eyes went wide. You mean the baby's coming? Here? Now? Everyone in the boat perked up. Isabel and Ivan pulled themselves up on the side of the boat to see. Isabel was a jumble of emotions. She was excited to see her brother born after waiting so long, but suddenly she was also afraid. Afraid for her mother to have the baby here on this fragile raft in the middle of the ocean. And worried, too, for the first time about how her baby brother would change her fragile family. Yes, I think I've gone into labor, Isabel's mother said calmly. But no, I'm not having the baby here and now. The contractions are just starting. It took Isabel another 10 hours to come after my contractions began. Remember? Isabel had never heard her mother talk about her birth before, and she was both curious and a little weirded out at the same time. What are you going to name him? Ivan asked. Mommy and Poppy looked at each other. We haven't decided yet, she said. Well, I have some good ideas if you want some, Ivan said. We're not naming him after Industriales players, Isabel told him, and Ivan stuck his tongue out at her. They were all quiet for a time, and Isabel watched as the golden horizon shifted from orange to purple to deep blue. Would her baby brother be born at sea or in the United States? Would the end of their song really be a new life in Miami? Or would it end in tragedy for all of them, adrift, out of gas, and dying of thirst in the great saltwater desert of the Atlantic? Hey, we never named our boat, Ivan said. Everyone moaned and laughed. What? Ivan said, smiling. Every good boat needs a name. I think we all agree this isn't a good boat, Senor Castillo said. But it's the boat that's taking us to the States, to freedom, Ivan said. It deserves a name. How about Fidel? Louis joked, kicking up a splash on Castro's face at the bottom of the boat. No, 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 Poppy said. El Ataud Flotante, the floating coffin. Isabel winced at the name. It wasn't funny, not with her mother about to have a baby on the boat. Too close, Senor Castillo agreed. How about mi perro, he suggested. It was slang for, I'm out of here in Cuba. Ciao pescado, Mommy said, and everyone laughed. It literally meant goodbye, fish, but everyone in Cuba said it to each other to say goodbye. The St. Louis, Isabel's grandfather said softly. Everybody was quiet for a moment, trying to figure out the joke, but no one understood. How about El Camelo, Louis said. The camel was what they called the ugly humpback buses pulled around by tractors in Havana. No, no, I've got it, Amara cried. El Botero. It was perfect because it was the slang word for the taxis in Havana, but actually it meant the boatman. All the adults laughed and clapped. No, no, Ivan said, frustrated. It needs a cool sounding name, like the... Ivan jumped a little in the water. His eyes went wide. The what? Isabel asked. Then she jumped, too, as something hard and leathery bumped into her leg. Shark! Screamed Isabel's grandfather from the other side of the boat. Shark! The water around Ivan became a dark red cloud, and Isabel screamed. Something bumped into her again, and Isabel scrambled to climb into the boat, arms and legs shaking, panic thundering in her chest. Her father grabbed her around her middle, and they fell back in a tumble inside the boat. Beside them, Amara and Mommy helped pull Senor Castillo into the boat as Lito pushed her up out of the water from behind. Isabel and her grandmother scrambled to their knees and pulled her grandfather in behind her. On the other side of the boat, Luis and Senor Castillo cried out Ivan's name as they hauled his limp body over the side. Ivan's right leg was a bloody mess. There were small bites all over it, as though a gang of sharks had attacked all at once. Raw, red, gaping wounds exposed the muscle underneath his skin. Isabel fell back against the side of the boat in horror. She'd never seen anything so awful. She felt like she was going to throw up. Senor Castillo wailed. Ivan was so shocked he didn't even cry out, didn't speak. His eyes had a glazed look to them, and his mouth hung open. One of the gashes up near his thigh was pumping blood out like a garden hose, and Isabel watched as Ivan's face grew pale. She couldn't speak. A tourniquet, Lito cried. We have to get something around his leg to stop the bleeding. Isabel's father yanked off his belt, and Lito tried it around Ivan's leg as he could, but the blood still flowed, coloring the water all around them in the boat a dark, sickening red. No, no, Senor Castillo cried as the life went out of Ivan's eyes. Isabel wanted to scream too, but she was frozen. There was nothing she could do. There was nothing any of them could do. Ivan was dead. Lewis yelled in rage and pulled his police pistol from its holster. Bang, bang, bang. He fired once, twice, 3 times at the fin that circled the boat. No, Lito said, grabbing Lewis's hand before he could shoot again. You'll just bring more sharks with the blood in the water. Too late. Another fin appeared and another, and soon the nameless little boat was surrounded. They were trapped in their own sinking prison. We will begin tomorrow on page 210 with Mahmoud. I hope you are thinking through the stories of these 3 teenagers, Joseph, Isabel, and Mahmoud. Thank you, 7th graders. Take care of yourselves. See you tomorrow.